I'm Simon. I'm a natural beekeeper and a member of the Oxfordshire Natural Beekeeping Society. So our premise is we try and cultivate natural and wild bees and keep them going. We have no intervention, so there's no chemicals put in to treat varroa, and the bees that we do have become much, much stronger because of it. We let them swarm. We don't go inside the hive unless it's absolutely imperative. We just watch. We observe from the outside, and from that you can tell everything that's going on in the hive. Bees are probably the most important insect in our environment. They are the ones that pollinate all the plants. Part of the reason we're natural beekeepers because we're trying to get away from the chemicals, because the glyphosates that are being used on the fields is really killing them. Fascinating little creatures, bees. An adult worker bee, in their lifetime, which is that 6 weeks, they only make 1 teaspoon of honey. That's all. So just think about that when you put some on your toast. The queen is the only bee that can repeat its sting. The drones have no stings, and the workers, they can sting but only once, because their venom sac is part of their abdomen, so when they sting, unfortunately, they die. The drones, well, the drones, they're the male bees. All their only job is to fly up really high once or twice a year and mate with the queen. And that's all they do. They don't do anything. They buzz around, dangling around with their legs. They are useless. All they do is eat all the honey stores. So the lady bees, later in the year, get fed up with them, kick them out. There's something there that seems quite normal in human society as well. Without them, we wouldn't be eating food at our table. They are very, very important. Picked some up yesterday from Leafield, from a lady's house. Didn't go quite to plan. Touched the bush, all the bees fell off, so I got about 2,000 bees around my head. So I managed to cajole them into a box, get the queen, and then once the queen's in, the rest will follow. They're all boxed up and in the garage, nice and cool and chilled. I'm going to introduce them to one of my empty hives. We'll pour them out onto a plank and we'll see if they'll walk in. Right, so what you're seeing in here now, this is all white. The bees are drawn to the darkness, which is the hole in here, which leads into the hive. You can see now they're making their way up the board, and they'll be going in. So what we want to do is get the queen into the hive. If you see these guys at the front here, they're all buzzing their wings like crazy. That's not to try and fly in. What they're doing is they're blowing the scent of the queen out. So all the stray bees that are sort of flying about will get the scent of the queen, and they'll all come and join her. So the workers, they'll be stocked up with honey, and they'll be ready to make some comb. Because we're natural beekeepers, we don't supply them with any wax. They make their own, because that's what they do in the wild. The only time you'll have problems with hive when they interact, they'll stay well apart from the others, is when one of the hives is really weak or they lose a queen, because the guard bees come out. So if the guards aren't that defensive, then one of the other hives might rob it and take all the honey from it. If this was a wild swarm coming in, if it was hanging in a tree over there, they send out the scouts. And there might be 30-odd scouts, and they'll find a home like this or one of the other hives and decide this is just right for them. And somehow, in some sort of communication, they go back and they tell the whole swarm where the best place is to stay. And then once the decision is made, they collectively up and go straight to it. It's amazing to see. There's always a few casualties in the process, but then, you know, they lose bees every day in the hive, and the queen can actually lay 1,000 eggs in a day. Quite amazing. They don't like the rain. they'll want to be inside, which is probably the best thing. But the forecast is dreadful. It's going to be raining all afternoon, so there's nothing really we can do. So they need to get in pronto. And to be fair, the vast majority of them have. Even overnight, I don't know if you saw in this box. Yeah, look. So this is the comb they made last night. A tiny little bit of comb, but that's just in a few hours. When they're all busy working on it, once they've found their home, as in the hive they've got, then they'll start laying and filling it with honey. You see that tiny bit of comb that they made last night? I put it in there. What they're doing is they'll go into that and they'll chew it all up. And they'll take it in and they'll start building it again. It's really good. They're pretty much in. I'll come out and check them in about an hour and see how they're getting on. And then I'll check them again tomorrow morning. I won't be going in the hive. I never go in the hive, to be honest. And let them sort it all out. They know what they're doing. So it's been a few days now since the bees went in the hive, and I thought it was about time we popped down and checked them out. We're not going to be going into the hive, but just watching intently from the outside and seeing that they're all settled in. So the first hive here is the hive I put the bees in 3 days ago. I've been watching them for a little while and they're looking really good. They're settled, they're going out foraging, they haven't absconded, which is great. So they're now building comb and hopefully collecting nectar. It's called a WBC, which is the initials of the guy that made it. And it's predominantly a tear effect on the outside, and there's probably about an inch gap all the way around. That means that the bees are secure, they keep dry, and they keep warm in the winter. I've got 2 other hives, just the same as the WBC, really nice old hives. They don't produce a massive amount of honey like some of the commercial jobs, but that's not what we're about. And then at the top, I've got a Drayton hive, which is a relatively modern one, which has got a large swarm in it at the moment. And it's quite novel, and it represents a log. Let's go and have a look. So this is the Drayton hive. Essentially, it's one long box made by a guy, oddly enough, in Drayton. And this is one of the prototypes he gave it me to test. The main entrance, as you can see, is that small slit in the front. Inside, it's got really deep frames, but they just run from front to back. There's no different compartments, nothing. And so the bees can build their comb like they would in the wild. And it's all shaped in a conical shape. There is a queen excluder that stops the queen going through, and so the workers can, and they can deposit and create some comb and store some honey. It's proving to be really popular with the bees. They really like it. They're producing lots of honey. The blackberries are just about to finish, all the flowers that is, so it's probably about time I remove some of the excess. It's interesting the way the bees make honey. They go and collect nectar from all the various different, certainly wildflowers around here, which is, it's quite liquid. It's around about 70 or 80% water. And then they keep about 50% of their body weight's worth in their stomach. They then transfer it from their proboscis to the proboscis of another bee, and they keep doing that until it's about 17 or 18%. Within that process, they've added a few enzymes, they've added a little acid, and what you get is pure honey. They put that in a comb, hexagonal comb, and then they put a wax cap over it. So it's then preserved, and they've picked up honey from centuries ago, which still is edible. It's so pure. Insects are so important for our ecosystem, and none more so than the bee. It's imperative that we look after them and we don't poison them with things like glyphosate. And more than ever now, we need to protect them. It's in our own interest to protect ourselves, because bees here actually pollinate virtually all the edible crops that humans eat. And they don't only pollinate the crops, they also pollinate trees and other plants which other insects need to survive. If that food chain is broken and we don't get pollinators pollinating the plants, it's the end of life as we know it. In the natural beekeeping world, we are trying to proliferate strong wild bees that aren't affected by varroa and many types of other natural diseases that bees get. So we try and let them live like they would in the wild and get their numbers up. So it's really important. Without them, we can't survive. What can we do at home to look after our bees? Well, you can get a hive. Get a second-hand beehive. The smallest garden you can put a beehive in. They're ever so gentle. They don't want to sting you. They absolutely don't, because if they do, they die. Go and speak to your local beekeepers. They are passionate about what they do. And when you go to buy honey, buy ethically sourced honey. Check the back. Try and get British honey, because that's the best stuff. If you get stuff from abroad, it can be adulterated with sugar water, because they can make so much money by mixing it up with just a tiny bit of honey. So, eat more honey, keep bees if you can.